Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. Jalen Rose is a Detroiter living the American dream. Through hard work and talent, he became an all-star college basketball player at U of M and the NBA. He's doing sports commentating today, too, and has gone on to make his mark as an entrepreneur who's teaming up with Pistons owner Tom Gores. Jalen's here today to talk about all of it. Plus, the Sports Roundtable is waiting in the wings to talk about the NCAA basketball playoffs, the Detroit Tigers, the Lions, and more. It's a show celebrating a Detroiter blazing all kinds of trails and talk about March Madness and other sporting topics. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Cure Auto Insurance.
We're joined by someone who really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to do so anyways. That's Jalen Rose, Detroiter done good. He's a celebrated member of U of M's Fab Five basketball team. Went on to play in the NBA for 13 years, I think it was. He's commentating on sports and today expanding his portfolio as an entrepreneur, entertainment guru. It's so great to have you with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the love.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I enjoy your show. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my gosh. You are gracing us here with us. So amongst all these titles, which of the titles I just mentioned means the most to you?
Probably founder of the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. And I just saw you said I played 13 years in the NBA, which reminded me that this is the 16th year of our open enrollment public school that has 400 high school kids in the building right now on 8 Mile and Hubble, 15,000 Trojan, and another 1,000 graduates that we still support in the 9 through 16 model.
Unbelievable. You're someone who went away and came back and remembers the home team, the home city, and you have the D's in your DNA, obviously,
Yes.
here. No doubt about that. Well, let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneur aspect of what you're doing now. You're teaming up with Tom Gores, who, as people know, owns the Detroit Pistons. He's the founder of Platinum Equity. And with Same Page Entertainment, he joined up with you after you started this company. It's a multimedia production company in Detroit. What's your vision for it?
So anytime you're in business, their goal is to make money. But for the city of Detroit, I wanted to create an experience for people who can be discovered in front of the camera, behind the camera, and you don't necessarily have to go to Los Angeles or New York to do so. And we have so many very talented people here that can express themselves, and it was important for TG and myself to create a Detroit-based multimedia company and opportunity for documentaries, for series, for movies, for podcasts, and just the entrepreneurial spirit of Detroit. As my friend and my partner, we bonded over giving back to this city. He's from Flint, I'm from Detroit. He's done so much community work. He's been an incredible entrepreneur. He's become one of the most successful people in what his chosen field is. And so for me to be able to partner with him and learn from him and be a friend of his and now bring Same Page Entertainment to Detroit, I'm really excited about.
And you're doing all kinds of different productions, including you have a new television show, Southwest High, which is on Tubi? Tubi, which I actually watched it. Really good. So my question is, with everything you're doing here, why do a TV show?
It's 24 hours in a day, and I tell young people all of the time, if you walk into a classroom right now and say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're going to get a handful of answers: social media influencer, athlete, entertainer, actor, artist. But as a Detroiter, it's another word: hustler. I mean, you got to do multiple things until your goal or dream actually happens. And so that's being in multimedia. The world, yes, got introduced to me in the name Jalen through basketball, but I also took pride in my education. I was an honor roll student in high school. I made the dean's list in college. Newsflash, I went to the University of Michigan.
Go Blue.
Right, the Ivy League school of the Midwest. And so radio, TV, film was my major, and I get a chance to work in that right now. I've been in this field for a long time, being in front of the camera, doing multimedia, doing the analyst work, and doing executive production. So it's just a graduation of the mission.
So you're executive producing this TV show, and you're starring as the principal of the school that this all revolves around a high school. How do you like being an actor?
It's a lot of hard work. Like when I grew up, there were a lot of athletes that did scripted television. Fred the Hammer Williamson, Jim Brown. There were so many people, and then graduated and become The Rock, and there's so many other athletes. But the reason why a lot of times you may see comics or artists do scripted and not necessarily athletes because it's hard.
Yeah.
And so for me, like taking the acting classes, putting in the work, and just embodying the character really of Nolan Thomas, who for me is like a modern day version of Lean On Me.
Yeah.
And I'm playing Joe Clark in theory as the founder of the school. And I gave myself confidence because I realized that I have an actual school and Morgan Freeman doesn't. Right? But he's an all-time great actor, so that gave me confidence.
Yeah. So, and your studios are set up where are you physically
Downtown
housed?
Detroit. Is very important for us to be Detroit born and bred, and we're just highlighting so many very young, talented people. Even in Southwest High, we have students from JRLA. We have so much local talent in Southwest High that are really, shining, and I think this is going to be breakout opportunities for so many people.
We're going to continue the conversation here a little bit more about this guy who's working more than 24/7 and do all these things you're doing. Keep it right here. Welcome back. We're talking with Jalen Rose, star NBA and college basketball player turned analyst, excelling as an entrepreneur as he has many different hats here. You mentioned, we talked at the very top about the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, which you started in Detroit, which is where you obviously grew up. Why did you start the academy? How's it doing today?
The academy is doing incredible, and I'm just very proud that I have an amazing co-founder in Michael Carter, a terrific founding team, board members, and the community just believed in the vision. The parents, the scholars, have an awesome school leader in Jasmine Allen, and they're working really hard to change lives. This is our 16th year in existence. We're a 9 through 16 model.
Yeah.
And I was inspired to do it because normally when people start schools, they start it with younger people, because we know the challenges of a third grader are different from the challenges of an 11th grader. The 11th grader is a teenager, has been exposed to sex, drugs, violence, gangs, social media. So that's a different young person that you're nurturing. So for us to be able to support them while they're in high school, but also provide resources, post-secondary education is something that we're really proud of.
As someone who's involved in education, who's from Detroit, who grew up here and saw when they talk about the numbers on education, the fact that it's not just a Detroit problem, it's a statewide problem.
Correct.
That we are dismal when it comes to reading scores, math scores, and so forth. Do you see any solution to that?
I see the solution in just reinvesting in our young people. Like, we do special things at our school that on paper change the dynamic. As a public school, our young people, they wear uniforms.
Yeah.
They submit their cell phones in the mornings. Our teachers don't have desks in the classroom where they could be rotating teachers. Like, there are things that you can do as an infrastructure. But usually when you meet young people, in my case, at 9th grade, the system has already failed them because they're reading at a 5th grade level.
Yeah.
And so our life goal is really about growth for our young people, to get them nurturing better in the classroom, but also to give them the life skills and the social skills so they can matriculate and be successful.
Well, I'm going to ask you a quick question here that I don't know that anyone's asked you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So another famous NBA player who came back to Detroit, built his career and his business here, went on to go into politics. I'm talking about Dave Bing, who was mayor. Politics in your future at all, do you think?
Possibly. Dave Bing is my godfather. He played in the backcourt with my biological father, Jimmy Walker. And coincidentally, when I founded JRLA, he was actually mayor, and he was there for our ribbon cutting ceremony. I idolize, look up to him so very much in business and as a basketball player. And so watching him, be so very successful as a former athlete that became a politician, it does inspire me, and it is something that I may consider in the future.
Mayor, maybe? If Mary just got there, and who knows how long she wants to stay, but...
Well, I already have people in the neighborhood calling me mayor of the mitten. So that's like the mayor of the entire state.
There we go.
So at some point, it's only right, I guess.
There's still time to write in. You can stay. You can still run for governor. They have until another few weeks to file petitions. But anyways, let's move on. Vinnie Johnson, who played for the Pistons.
Microwave, my God, I love him.
There, 07, as we like to call him, back in the day when he played. I remember when he made the transition from NBA to business, and I had a conversation with him during that time. time and talked about that, and he talked about the timing, how business takes forever. You have a deal, you think it's done. 6 months later, you're still talking about the deal, da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
You came off the basketball court, which is one thing. Now you're dealing with, well, you're doing philanthropic things with your school and other stuff. But in the business world, what's been the biggest transition for you?
The biggest transition, and Vinny said it, and there's so many former athletes that I just idolize in business. Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Vinny Johnson. You mentioned Dave Bean, Junior Bridgman, who we just lost, Shaquille O'Neal right now. Just so many, Charles Barkley, so many amazing, Jamal Mashburn, who I work with at TNT right now, that are doing amazing things in business. And so for me, I learned to measure twice and cut once.
Ooh.
That's really the approach. And so, and also have the ability to multitask.
Yeah.
I think that being an athlete, but also working in radio, TV, film, and being an entrepreneur, and being the founder of a school, and being a best-selling author, like doing all of these things is just more so like managing your time, doing things that you're enthusiastic about. And for me, I get a chance to do things that I'm passionate about, but also are career-driven. And so I just try to be an inspiration to whoever is trying to follow in my footsteps. And I'm just really proud of this city and being where I'm from.
Quickly, little hoops here before we wind this down here. March Madness is about to kick off here. Michigan, Michigan State. Thoughts about them, their prospects?
So I love Tom Izzo. I know people will say, Jalen Rose is going to say something bad about Michigan State. I'm actually not. I actually look up to Tom Izzo. I love Tom Izzo. But they're not the Wolverines. He's not Dusty May. It's just we're the number one team in the country for a reason. So I'm just going to give you some tips when you're filling out your bracket. The three best teams in the country, I'm telling you, are Michigan, Arizona, and Duke. Those three teams.
Okay.
And then there's a class after that, depending on Kansas, if Darren Peterson is playing. UConn is in that class. Florida's in that class. There are a few teams that, you know, are knocking on the door. And shout out to Miami of Ohio. I see people hating on them. They're undefeated. They're 30-0. Of course they should be in the tournament.
Much to be determined still in these coming weeks here. One last thing, the Michigan women's basketball team?
Held to the victors. And this is the great thing I love about being a Wolverine, since we're going to go here with the blue and gold. You wonder why everything's blue and gold? That's Detroit Southwestern. That's University of Michigan. That's Indiana Pacers. That's JRLA. Okay.
Ooh, it's all.
Absolutely. So I'm so very proud of the Michigan women. They're doing such an incredible job because unlike Ohio State, unlike Duke, unlike Alabama, unlike many schools, we're not one-trick ponies. You know what I'm saying? We're required to be good at basketball and good at football. Good at men's, good at women's, good at swimming, good at tennis, good at academics. You get the drill.
You know what? There's nothing more I can say to that. Jalen said it all, wrapped it up with a pretty bow tie on it in maize and blue colors here. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. Great to have you on. Maybe next time you come on and we'll talk more about little hoops and other stuff here.
Done.
All right. And keep it right here. We're back with the roundtable right after this. And welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're joined by the Roundtable as we say hello to sports commentator Terry Foster, WWJ News Radio sports reporter Brendan Shabath, and former coach, now athlete representative Rob Murphy, as we talk a little sports as we do from time to time on this desk. And this is one of those rare times of the year where every sport seems to have something going on, even the NFL, which isn't playing with the upcoming, with free agency and everything. This is just an interesting time. But let's start with kind of where I just left off in the last segment with basketball. And Terry, we'll talk about the hardwood, where the Pistons are enjoying the best season they've had in years. We'll talk too about how some of it may be smoke and mirrors. And y'all know I spend more time watching the Golden State Warriors. That's the only NBA team down in my house. But I know one thing. The Eastern Conference has made it's been easier because of season-ending injuries before it got going for Indiana and Boston. There's a feeling that some say that if the Pistons can't pull it all together and win it this year before these other teams get healthy for next year, they may miss the boat. Terry, what say you?
There could be a one-year window, but the thing I'm not buying that the Pistons don't have enough to go to the NBA Finals. People don't watch the NBA correctly. they would take a 4 or 5 game span and say, oh, they missed the three-pointers, they're bad, they can't do it. The one thing, if you look at the Pistons' history, they've always zigged when everybody else zagged.
Yeah.
In 1989-90, you can't win a championship with a 6'1" point guard. Well, they did. Going to work Pistons, you can't win a championship when you can't score. Well, they did.
You don't think they were aided by the fact that you had these other major teams which had major players out?
That's part of sports.
Okay.
And that is true, but they still would have won it. I'm talking about the going to work Pistons. Now, this year's Pistons team, you've got an NBA superstar in Cade Cunningham, and I think this community is afraid to say they're title contenders because you're not used to seeing that.
It's been a dearth, Death Valley for how many decades here. Rob, you have a bird's eye view of the early development of the Pistons and Cade Cunningham. Your read on their readiness to compete right now?
Yeah, well, I think they can make a deep run, Carol. As he mentioned, Cade Cunningham, in the playoffs, it's all about matchups.
Yeah.
When you have a superstar that can control the game, they have an elite defensive and rebounding team. They have a really great coach, and they'll have home court advantage. When you put all of that together and the chemistry is great and everybody understanding their roles, I think they're set to make a deep run if they can avoid injuries.
That's all.
Rob, I got a question for you, though. Yeah. When are they going to start calling fouls on other teams and send Cade to the free throw line? Can you work on that?
I mean, them being the #1 seed, I mean, obviously you want more calls from to get to the free throw line, but more importantly, the way these guys are, rebounding and defending, their physicality is kind of controlling the game and the opponents. And then Cade is a closer as well, and then they got great shooting around them. You got the tough guys inside. So like I said before, I think they're set if they can avoid injury to really make a good run. In the
Brendan, you're the newbie here to the roundtable. Welcome, by the way, your first time
Thank
here.
You so much. Glad to be here.
As good as their record is this season, there's a lot of people who say they haven't captured that they have not captured the hearts and thoughts of fans here, like the bad boys of the Rasheed, Chauncey, Rip Hamilton era Pistons did. How do you see it?
Well, I think that's probably because, if we're being completely honest, that 04 Pistons team is renowned for not really having a star. Even Chauncey Billups, I think, wasn't quite the star level that some of the other players in the NBA were at that time. The Pistons have a star in Cade Cunningham, but as a whole, when you compare this Pistons team to that 04 team, I think the talent is just a little bit less in the pieces outside of Cade Cunningham. But this is a really fun Pistons team to watch that has a lot of likenesses to that 04 team with how they defend, how physical they are, how unafraid they are to back down. And I agree with these guys. I think their window for a championship or for competing for it is just opening. And even when you look at the injuries to Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton that you're talking about for Boston and Indiana, they competed with those teams last year when those guys were healthy. They were really close with Boston in a lot of those games. They had a couple battles with Indiana. Boston's been really good this year, and the Pistons have gotten the better of them. They're 3-1 against them, and they're one of the best teams in the league this year against the top 10 in the NBA and teams above 500, and that says something.
Let's switch over to the Detroit Lions here, and Terry, let me start with you. They seem to intentionally trade away their depth at running back when they dealt David Montgomery to Houston's. The Lions underachieved this season. Everybody was disappointed, but the silver lining is that they're amongst the better teams that are going to have better position in the draft position. The impact of trading Montgomery.
Well, the impact is, can you elevate yourself in other areas? I don't worry about a backup running back, and that's what David Montgomery became. He was excellent when he was here, but now last year when the offensive line was banged up, he wasn't as good. And I always try to look ahead of what these guys are going to be years down the road. I don't think David Montgomery was going to be a big impact guy here, so I don't think it's a big loss. But you know what? Get yourself a center, get yourself a guard, get yourself some defensive backs, get yourself other pieces who are going to start and help this team win.
Okay, I'm taking notes here. All righty. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters and talk about a little more sports. Keep it here. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking about a topic near and dear to so many people tuning in right now, that being sports. And Brendan, the boys of summer are back down in Lakeland, which means spring is almost here. And Tarek Skubal got the bag, as they say, in arbitration. Justin Verlander's heading back home here. Your thought on the Detroit Tigers and their season ahead?
I'm really excited for this season, and I was talking to some of my friends and coworkers when they signed Valdez, when they signed Verlander. That was all in a span of, I think, 3 days, and just a couple weeks before spring training. This is the most excited I think people have probably been for Tigers baseball since 2014, the year after they lost in the ALCS to the Red Sox. And 2014 was the last year they made the playoffs in that long stretch before breaking that the last 2 years. So there's a lot of excitement around Comerica Park. And, of course, with Verlander being back and Skubal being the best pitcher in baseball, how can there not be?
It's about opening up that checkbook here. Terry, your thoughts about the Tigers?
Well, finally, they opened up the checkbook. The only, I don't understand what Chris Ilitch was thinking before. All you got to do is give these fans something to be excited about. A 500 season, some names, some people to root for, and they're going to show up. I'll tell you, there's going to be 3 sellouts a week at Comerica Park because of Valdez, Verlander, and Skubal. Now I have to figure out who's going to draw more fans, Skubal or JV.
Interesting.
That's going to be
an interesting
tough.
point to do. We're going to be watching there. Rob, be you a Spartan or Wolverine fan, here's the issue. Your men's basketball team is balling right now, and the Michigan women's team is as well. Dusty May's team came out of the gate on fire this season, and they haven't looked back. Izzo's team will be a factor down the stretch, as they always are. Talk about Michigan, Michigan State, men's basketball real quickly. Your thoughts of each team going into the March Madness?
Well, believe Michigan is the best team in the country. That's my pick for them to win the national championship. They have an unbelievable front line, great size, athleticism. They're very physical. They can score from the post to the mid-range to outside. Dusty May has done a really good job of putting the team together, and they have chemistry. Izzo's been doing this for 30 years. He's been dominating for 30 years, and he's done it the same way. They outwork you, they out-prepare, and they out-execute you. The high-flying Cohen Carr, you have a floor leader in Jeremy Fears, and Carson Cooper and Kohler are really good players inside. So both teams are really good. I would be shocked if Michigan is not playing in the national championship game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan State is in the Final Four.
Terry, there's so many good teams who could win this. Arizona, Duke, just to name a couple as we look at all this. Your sense of the Final Four?
My sense, Duke is definitely going to be there. I'm not convinced of Arizona. I'm just not a big Arizona guy. I keep hearing, I heard early it's going to be Arizona in the field. I'm like, not really. So sleeper, BYU. But I think Michigan is definitely going to be there.
So, Brendan, your take on it? Izzo's team, again, is they're tough defenders. We know that. If they just shoot good, they shoot just about well enough. And if Michigan can shoot from the perimeter because they got everything else, your take on those two teams and their prospects for March Madness?
I think I'm pretty similar to Rob, where I could see Michigan State going to a Final Four. I don't know that they quite have the consistent depth on offense. They can have any guy go off on a given night, but they don't have enough guys going off every night. And so it's going to be hard on a single elimination game tournament to win 4 or 5 games in a row and get to a Final Four. For Michigan, they've got all the pieces that they need. They've got a coach that's already been there. They've got 4 transfers who have just been stellar this year. I think losing L.J. Kaysen is going to hurt them as a backup, kind of a safety net for Elliot Cadeau, who can be a little bit streaky, but they have everything they need to win a national championship. They've already proven that. It's just about going out and doing it now.
Rob, you're on the other side of the table of coaching, if you will, dealing with college athletes. You were a coach for Eastern, other places. You're now representing them. Is it harder to coach kids in this new environment with NIL, with everything else, and portals and everything else?
No, that's not been in my experience. So I've spent time at a lot of practices and talking to a lot of coaches. It's the coaches that have adjusted to the portal and understand how to still spend their money, where to spend their money, and the evaluation. So those are the teams that have continued to have success.
Brendan, you get the last word here. A quick yay or nay. Is college athletics better because of all this?
I would say nay, but I don't think it's as bad.
All right.
Bottom line, I always watch the football games. I always watch the basketball games.
That says all you know.
I never miss it.
It's called Money Talks, and those games matter.
Right.
So thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks you at home for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.